Valeria, nice to meet
To have you here today. Welcome to Surefire Ways to guarantee your AI chat implementation will fail. Welcome. As you're arriving today, if you could go ahead and put in the chat where you are dialing in from today. We'd love to see where you are joining us from today. Also, as a reminder, some housekeeping rules. Make sure you keep your microphone muted. And you're welcome to be off camera, and you're also welcome to be on camera if it's available to you. I see Marissa calling in from LA, Suhail, New York. Wonderful. Go ahead and put in the chat where you are joining us from today. We're so glad that you're here, and we hope that you're enjoying your conference. My name is Valeria Lopez, and I'll be your moderator for today. Fort Worth, LA, California represent. Go ahead. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll get started. I'm here to introduce to you Danny Castro. Danny, I'm going to let you take it from here. Danny will delight us with his presentation today. So, Danny, over to you.
Thank you, Valeria. Thank you, everyone who took the time to hop in. I know everyone's very busy, working, living their lives. So I appreciate that you're giving me 45 minutes of your time. So thank you very much. Let's go ahead and talk about surefire ways to guarantee your chat AI implementation will fail. I know when you talk about AI chats, right away, everyone always thinks, oh, chat GPT, that's how I chat. And when they build products, they think about ChatGPT and how they talk with that, or Gemini, or Perplexity, or name your specific transformer. That's not Optimus Prime. I've worked in the space, and we'll go a little bit more into it. But let's go ahead and kick off here. So, um, first off, who am I? I grew up in the Chicago neighborhood of Humboldt Park. If you've been to Chicago, there's a picture of Humboldt Park there. That is where all us Boricuas are at, pretty much, right? Growing up there in the 80s and 90s, this was the epicenter of Puerto Rican culture in Chicago in the Midwest. Last few years, worked for AI startup Natomi with some companies. Then with them, with their chat, I've worked with ServiceNow. I'm an AI community builder. I'm currently an ambassador with Torque, which is a developer community. I help organize AI groups like AI Tinkerers, help with the Latino and Tech chapters of North Carolina. I am the director of technology for the Institute of Contextual Health, which started by a friend of mine who was a IT professional turned physical therapist, who's now turning back to IT professional and building software for the physical therapy world, believe it or not. And most importantly, I'm a girl dad to two beautiful girls, Kiyomi and Hannah. So, what do I know about chat implementations? I've worked the last couple of years doing this with countless brands that you've heard of, which I'll name here. Um, and I've been involved in this world, helping companies understand how to set up their chat implementation and keep them running and keep them going. So when it comes to chat implementations, I've dealt with some serious hitters here. Then I've been the human in the loop. So I've been the person who has had to read all the chat logs, see what the people gave a thumbs up to, what did they give a thumbs down to, or what did they rate 1 star, what did they rate 5, figuring out what's working, what's not. Because in AI chat implementation, believe it or not, you need the human in the loop to review those things. And then Natomi, which is a smart startup, I was part of that. Not only was I training models, helping people with APIs, I was also looking at chat logs and figuring out what is really working and what is not. I apologize, I have a little bit of a cough, so if you see me muting, I'm just muting so I don't cough in your ear.
Hey, Danny, quickly before you
Yes.
move forward, can you click on that OK where it says the meeting is being transcribed on your screen so we can see the full slide?
Um, let me See, I don't have, it's not showing me that right
Oh,
now.
okay.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, I don't see where it's not seeing, it's not giving me that option to click on that. My apologies.
No problem. Carry on.
Okay. So here's some brands I've worked with that you might have heard of. The NBA, Airtable, CompTIA, Ebanks, The Books, which is a big furniture, flower company, and Mello, which is a furniture manufacturer. Yes, to name a few. So obviously, everyone's heard of the NBA. Everyone knows the branding of the NBA and how important and serious of a multi-billion-dollar empire the NBA is. So let's talk about why most AIs fail, right? Sometimes it's the frustration engine. This should be more of what is working and how to make people get the answers they want. And instead of being an answer engine, it becomes a frustration engine, right? Where users are trying to get in, trying to find information, trying to figure an answer out to a problem they're having, or get a quick solution, or get a quick update on an order. And instead of getting an answer, they're just getting frustrated. And that does not help with your brand. That does not help with your customer loyalty. Oftentimes, people are rushing to get things done. Let's be honest, AI is moving at the speed of light. We cannot change that. And I understand that everyone wants to implement, everyone wants to go to market, everyone wants to release and do everything they can. But here's the problem: you need to take a step back and realize faster is not better. Even though we're going at the speed of light at times as we're moving and we're implementing and we're putting systems in place and we're doing all these things, we still need to take time to properly implement items, properly do UAT testing. For those who aren't aware, UAT, user acceptance training, properly secure things, properly test, and test some more. Because if you go faster, but you're not improving it, it's not going to help. And honestly, I tell people all the time, deploying AI isn't about just the technology, right? AI is a technical stack. There's components that people need to understand, like machine learning, Java, APIs, things of that nature. But there's also a strategy behind it. There's a reason we're doing this. If you are implementing AI simply for the reason that you need to implement AI, you are going to fail, and you will fail amazingly. And I'm just being totally transparent when it comes to that. Some of the work I did at ServiceNow when I was at ServiceNow was on the partner side. And one of the things that we were doing with the partner side was we were helping them understand the strategy, because an engineer can come up and convince a C-level executive, we need AI. Our competitors are using AI. We need AI. Great. Let's sign a check. Let's make it happen. But there's not strategy behind it. It's all technical. It's all building, implementing, but there's no long-term strategy for this. If you want to fail, forget about strategy. You want success, you need to think about the strategy. You need to think about what you're doing this AI chat for. Why is it going to be a success or not? What are the things that we want to accomplish? What are our use cases? Something I tell people all the time. When I was in college, I worked delivering ice sculptures. And something I tell people, from the time I dealt with delivering ice sculpture in college, when I used to work at an internet call center supporting dial-up customers, yes, dial-up, 33.6 meg, 33.6 dial-up. I know it makes me sound like a dinosaur. I don't care. All these things eventually helped me become better later on when I started implementing AI, believe it or not. And you're probably thinking, what does an ice sculpture have to do with AI? That doesn't make sense. Well, guess what? It all starts with a gigantic block of ice that eventually you carve down, you whittle, you use all these tools to get it to become a beautiful swan or a heart or some other random thing that you would not expect it to be. Same thing when it comes to AI and implementing AI. It starts with data and you're transforming and you have a reason for it to exist. And that's part of where our strategy comes in. And I hate to harp on this, but we have to remember strategy is key here. Strategy is key. So let's look at what today's goals are. Learning how to succeed by studying exactly how to fail. I've seen firsthand how implementations fail. And if you are working on your implementations for your own personal chat projects, I don't need you to repeat the mistakes I made. Now's your chance to learn from the errors I committed so that you don't have to repeat them. So that way you can go ahead and get past that. And I want to share how experiences outside of AI can be used in your AI implementation, like I mentioned. So let's talk about the first failure point. I call it the identity crisis. One of the things, the worst things you can do is give your AI the wrong personality. Okay. If it's cold, if it's generic, robotic, if it does not sound like your brand, why is people going to believe it's you? It's part of your product. Something I tell people all the time when you're starting to do chat, does your chat feel like your website? Does your chat feel the same way as if I were to pick up the phone and call and say, I need assistance? Can you assist me? Does it have the same feel? Are you using the same terminology? Is the brand voice reflective of who you are, what the product is, and how you are marketing things? If it is not reflective of those, you need to go back and start again and reflect that, because every point that your customers touch should be within the way your brand feels and looks. Okay? I call it the identity crisis. I, for one, I love good AI slop, but sometimes you got to have the old school cartoons, not just AI slop. So, what brands made you feel like you were talking to an imposter online? Think about a chat that you may have had where you go into a website for a company and you start chatting with them, and it didn't feel like you were chatting with them. If I'm talking to my friend, okay, like if I'm talking to my friend Monica, and I'm talking to her, and it doesn't sound like Monica. She doesn't talk like her. The vernacular is not the same. The cadence isn't the same. I'm going, no, who am I really talking to? It's the same way when we're doing our chat. The identity of your brand has to be built into this. When you're creating your prompts, you need to ensure that it matches your brand tones. You need to make sure that's talking and feeling the way your brand matches. I'll give you a perfect example. If your brand is one that uses a lot of Spanglish, okay? Like if I would read something, I would hear the word papas or this or that, other terms, and I would hear English and Spanish mixed in. And I look at your chat and you're giving me just English. It doesn't match your brand. It doesn't match who you are, right? Great example with the MBA. The MBA ensures that whatever avenue you use to communicate with them, it sounds like them. It makes sure it uses the correct terms with them. For example, with the furniture manufacturers, they have custom words for things that are specific to their brands. So they want to make sure that when their chat is talking, their chat is using the correct terminology that you would use to describe a bed. Because to them, it's not just a headboard, it's such and such thing. And it's their marketing speak. And this is where your marketing comes in. This is where your branding comes in, because you want it to feel like that. You don't expect to talk to Nike and have it feel like Under Armour. It just does not work. And let's take it another level. If I'm talking to Bustelo, I can't expect it to feel like Folgers, right? Bustelo does not taste the same as Folgers, and we know that. And I'm not doing Folgers on the Greca. I'm happily doing my Bustelo, right? There's a difference. There's a tone, and that's something we need to ensure we have. The second thing is an infinite loop. Okay, a lot of times when we're talking and setting up these conversations, we want to make sure that they're just not looping around. Because how many times have you called in to a help center on the phone? I need help with my laptop. Great. Can you give me some information? Is it under warranty? Hit one, yes. Two for no. Yes. Okay, great. Is your laptop such and such model? Or can you give me the model number? Great. Da, da, da. And then you go through all these steps, and then you don't get to an answer. You don't get to a person. It loops you right back. The same thing happens when you're working in chat. Earlier, there was a great session on vibe coding, and they were talking about coding and how you do things. When you're looking at your conversations, figure out a flow for how you want these conversations to look. So I'll give you a perfect example. With the furniture manufacturer, the furniture manufacturer starts off, "Hi there, Mello. I have a problem with something I purchased." Great. Can you tell us what type of furniture it is? It's a bed. Great. So now that I know it's a bed, because I've entered that information into my model, I can start asking questions related to the bed and start giving them down the path to know, is it a problem with the bed? Is it a problem with the mattress? Is it a problem with the frame? What is that problem? Do you have general questions about how to assemble the bed? Because you don't want to have them say, "I need help with a bed," and then start hitting them with information about a couch. We want to help them get to an answer and guide them. It's a path. We're helping them get to a path to get to an answer. So, whatever it is you're building, think about what your starting point will be and think about how you will guide them. Because I have read countless chats of people chatting with AI. And there are still a lot of people who do not know how to chat with AI. Quite honestly, I will see people who will submit gigantic paragraphs, and the AI at times can get confused because there are 4 or 5 different topics, and it just doesn't know what to answer because this person has given them a novel to read and say, "Help me, here's my novel." Or they just give them a simple 1 word or 2 word response, which you then have to pull it from them and say, "Okay, what do you really need? I need more than just those 2 words." And you have to start pulling from that. So because users, especially, and I say this as the first gen Latinos, our parents may not be familiar with how to talk to AI. So a lot of times when I'm building things, my Puerto Rican mother in her 70s, who doesn't understand technology, would she be able to chat with this device? Would she be able to talk and be able to say, "Oh, I've got this problem," and be able to get an answer? I think about it in those terms because oftentimes we build expecting that people, "Oh, they know how to do chat GPT, they know how to do this." Not all of our users are tech savvy, and we have to build around that with that knowledge. They're not tech savvy. They don't always know what's going on or how to properly ask for it. So let's help them. Let's give them a path. Just like if you go to your local librarian, you go to the library. I don't go up to the librarian and I go, "Give me a book." It doesn't work that way. But I know if I'm giving them more specifics and I say, "Hey, my daughter has a book report that's due and she needs to find a book about butterflies. Can you help me find a book about butterflies for my daughter's book report?" Great. How old is your daughter? My daughter's 8. Great. Here's where you need to go. Here's a section. Here's where you can find books about butterflies for an 8-year-old to read. It's exactly the same way, being specific and helping them in the process. You will have those super users who don't need you. That's great. But you will need those who will need you. And you will need to be there for those people to help them with that. So map out those conversations, map out those journeys, help them figure those things out. Because your users, they are not in a choose your own adventure book. Once again, I don't care if this makes me sound old. I remember reading this and picking this up from my local library. I proudly went to a Puerto Rican school, which in Chicago, which was named after Jose de Diego. So I went to Jose de Diego Community Academy, a proud Puerto Rican school in the Humboldt Park area in Chicago. And in that library, we had the choose your own adventure books. And in those choose adventure books, you go and you take that, you start reading, goes, oh, you go to page this. If you want this, you go to that page. Oh, great. Let me go to this page. Let me see what's next on adventure, right? But the problem is it's chaotic. I don't want them to choose their adventure and just get somewhere because they randomly picked this one and then this one. I am guiding them. I am shepherding them. And that's what you want to do. Give them scenarios. Go through these scenarios yourself and see, if I start asking about this, can I get to an answer? That's what we want to try to get to, and that's what we want to try to get to. Point 3, the helpless desk. Okay? Or the helpless desk, right? So when we look at the help desks, they keep information under lock and key. They give zero access to stuff. There's so many ways we can integrate now with information to be able to get users the relevant information they need, so they don't have to have things under lock and key. And I'm going to give you a perfect testimonial to this. I call it the Wendy and Janet. One of our customers was a vitamin shop in Illinois. This vitamin shop had Wendy and Janet, who literally shipped orders, packaged things. They stocked shelves, and they would answer phones and email questions. And one of the problems they had is people would call in and say, here's my order number. What's the status of my order? They eventually instituted chat, but did not have an order status ability to put in chat. Eventually, they got an API so that a user can go into chat and say, here's my order number. Can you give me the status of my order? Guess what happened within a month? 70% of their call volume went down. Almost 80% of their email volume went down. Why? Because now users can go into their chats and self-service and get the order status. We have so many APIs. We have so much availability of data. Help users get the information they need. I'll give you a perfect example. I used to work at an internet call center 50, 20, 50, 60 times a day. People would call in just to ask, what's the primary, secondary DNS server? Which I can still tell you with my eyes closed. You wake me up in the middle of the night. It's 204.177.184.10 and 204.177.184.15. If we had this in a chat, this would have been something that people could have got instantly and be like, hey, what's the primary DNS servers? 204.177.184 and 15. There you go. They wouldn't have had to call us, right? Helping solve these issues are going to give the people that are answering calls more time to deal with things they need to deal with, because the information can readily be available. So they don't have to answer information about, do you have a product in stock at this store? Guess what? There's integrations you can use. Even I'm working on something right now in AI Studio that I'm vibe coding. And you can do that in Google Sheets and put in stock in your Google Sheet. Say, oh, this stock, this is what we have. Here's the price, blah, blah. Get them information. Let them answer the questions, because you're going to help your brand, because they're going to go, hey, if I go into their chat, I'm going to find the answers I need to my questions. Now, last one, the no way out. Once again, this is what I think my poor 70-year-old Latina mom, operator, human, right? When she's answering and taking a phone call, calling support. It's the same way in chat. There are times when you need to talk to a human. Chat cannot solve everything. I will tell you this right now. I've seen this. Chat is wonderful. Chat can do a lot, but chat cannot do everything. And there are times when we need to get to a human. So first off, you need to make it easy to get that escalation point to get to a human. And secondly, you need one day to have that handoff to ensure they get the full volume of the information. Let them see the chat log. So while the person is being transferred to the human can read the chat log beforehand and see everything they've asked. So they can be aware of the situation. So once they're handed off to a human, whether it's a live one-on-one chat or the human calls them, the human has the full context of what was in the chat. Okay? Because we want to make sure that the human's not only reachable, but they're an extension of that AI component. All right. I know we're out of time, but quick conclusions for things building success, be authentic with your brand, intuitive conversation design, robust self help access, and seamless support escalations. So I know we're right at the time here for question and answers, comments, and thoughts. So feel free to, if you have questions, answers, um, if you want to come off mute and ask me anything, I'd be more than happy to um, go back. Yes, I will go back one slide. There you go. So feel free to mute or ask in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Oh, we got a quiet group today. Are you saying that we can develop our own AI related to our own business? Okay. Adela asked, so sorry, perhaps I didn't get it. Are you saying we can develop our own AI related to our own business? Yes, absolutely, Adela. You can create your own chat and you can use what's called RAG. So think of it like this. When it comes to AI, we have RAG systems. And in RAG, it's called retrieval augment generation. And so what that does, it basically says, I want to get information from this source of data and use that in my chat. And that's what you use to train models. So I'll give you a perfect example. In your business, if you have PDF files with like your knowledge base, or if you have a document center somewhere, and lots of companies do this, like they'll use Zendesk Help Desk, they will use a system like Doc360. They'll use all of these things here to get the data. And so what they do is they ingest all that data on their, oops, sorry. They ingest all that data in there. And then when you start asking questions that are specific to your business, retrieval augment generation says, oh, I've been trained on this. Let me get you the answer. So, for example, do you ship to the country of Mexico? You can put in your documents what country you ship to, and if you need information on how to get shipping to that country, the RAG system will go and read that, and you'll be able to do that. So, absolutely, you
So,
can
so,
develop that.
so let's say that I have a book. My website is mujereslatinas.com, and I have profiles of historical women that we haven't known about. And I'm trying to inform, share, these stories of these women to younger people. So, are you saying that I could maybe read all this information into something and it creates a what, like a chat website?
Okay, so what you essentially would do, think of it this way. You set up the chat first, right?
Mhm.
Once you set up the chat, then you set up where you're going to obtain the information for your chat to get info from. whether it's a website address, so you can feed in those website addresses, if you have specific PDFs, and then you're going to basically tell your chat to train the model on that information. So that way it'll read your website and retrieve the information from your website.
Ah,
So it can say, what can you tell me about such and such person? And then it'll go and look for the information that's been trained on, find the pages on your site, get that information, and be able to answer that based on the pages you gave it.
okay. So how do I enter this information and where do I enter this information? And is that a price? Do I have to pay for that?
Well, it depends how you build it, right? Like you can go into Gemini if you have a Gemini
Hmm.
subscription,
Hmm.
and you can use gems. Like I'm building something in Gemini right now using AI Google Studios. And in Gemini, you can set up what's called a gem. And that gem, you basically tell that gem what information to pull into it to read to get the information for the answers that's going to ask when
I
users ask
see.
you questions.
Right.
So
I
it's
see.
basically you're creating your own. Think of it, you're Adela's GPT, right? And you're basically
Right.
saying, "This is the information I need to have." So your Mujeres Latina is going to get the information from these sources that you give it.
Okay. Sounds great, wonderful, and it sounds easy, but not really sure how to start. I don't want to consume your time with
I,
my.
I will tell you what, Adela. When I get to the slides later, I do have a Calendly link, so you can set up some time on my Calendly. We can also
That'd be
connect on
great.
LinkedIn, and we
Yeah.
can talk a little bit more in detail because this would
Yeah.
probably be a half-hour conversation at the least.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much. This is
yeah,
great.
yeah. So Valeria asks, how long should an AI chat implementation take? What's the typical time frame? Honestly, with a lot of the companies that I worked with, we would take 2 months from start to going live with actual customers. Now, it can vary depending on how many people you have working on and the resources. If you have more resources to work on, you can cut that time in a month. If you have enough people to properly test, properly ingest the data, properly check for APIs and issues and hallucinations. So it all depends on the time frame based on how much resources you have for that. I like Javier's question. Um, what are some principles for maintaining my AI chat and keeping it updated? So, Javier, I'm going to tell you this right out the bat. This is always an ongoing challenge for companies. One of the companies I dealt with, they would constantly have new articles for their help desk. So, with that help desk, they would want to make sure that, okay, if I'm being asked a question, is it looking at what's updated for my new information, right? Because depending on what you have, your application may change. So your menu may be different. So now you need to update that information, right? Or your business hours may change, whatever the case is. So constantly training and retaining your model is key. So keeping the resources that you use up to date, if it's specific PDFs or documents or a system like Docu360 or whatever, keeping that one up to date, and two, ensuring that the models are constantly being trained on that updated information. Because we know that a month from now, things may change in your business and it's updating. And I'll give you a perfect example on something. Every year with the NBA, they know when their season is coming up and they know the questions they're going to be asked, especially with like now Amazon Prime is going to be having games. And now you don't have TNT. So what they did is they preemptively started training their models and gathering their help desk information to keep that updated way ahead of time. So that way, by the time users start asking those questions, it's already ready to go and it's updated and maintained, because that is always the biggest challenge, right? The answer you give tomorrow probably isn't the answer from yesterday because things change. So you need to constantly keep the models updated. You need to keep training it. And you need to ensure that if you have a team that's updating, like your website or updating your app, make sure they're documenting everything. Because the last thing you want to do is have someone send you the screenshot. Your chat just told me I had to do this, but this menu option doesn't exist anymore. And you don't want them to call that out to you or on X or on Threads or somewhere publicly.
So as you produce something new, as you produce a new PDF, you take that one out and put the new one in.
Exactly. And retrain the model. The models have to constantly get retrained and retrained and retrained.
Big job.
It is a big job, but at the end of the day,
It's yours.
this is something that's very key. AI technology is not set it and forget it. If you use your chat as set it and forget it, you're going to lose. It's a losing battle. You cannot do that. AI is constantly changing, and we have to constantly be on the lookout to ensure that we're changing and updating with it. Let me get Valeria. Is an AI chat implementation something that solo entrepreneurs can do, or does it work best in orgs with larger teams? Great question. Here's the thing. Can a solo entrepreneur do it? Absolutely. But it all falls on you. If you have it where you're in a team structure, it's a lot easier because you can have one person work on the APIs. You can have one person work on the document, another person testing. So it's a little easier when you have a bigger team. Not impossible. Yes, a solo entrepreneur can do it, but it's going to require a lot more work on their part. Whereas with a team, it's a lot easier to work within the teams and you'll get it done faster. The bigger the team, the faster you can do this because everyone is doing their part. I'm exploring building internal chat using a RAG approach over company documentation. My concern is usage. My coworkers aren't the most technical. From your experience, how would you design and position something like this so it's generally useful and approachable for non-technical users? Kevin, I love this question because too many times we try to build tech solutions for tech people. But the reality is the people using tech are not always technical. And we need to ensure that we build these products for the non-technical side of the house as well. So my thoughts on this, when you're dealing with these people with that, I would think about what questions are they going to ask, right? And start figuring out how to build that design so you can help get the information out of them. Like Kevin, if you have people that you know are not technical and you know they may use this, I would literally sit down with them and ask them, if you had a chat bot for this, what would you ask it? What would you expect from it? Start getting that information from the users, get that from your non-technical users, and then start designing it so that they can use it and then show them how a non-technical person would get this answer because you're demystifying this. Demystify the technology. Get rid of the cloud of smoke. Get rid of this, oh man, this is such a big lift. I'm never going to be able to talk with a chatbot. No. Kevin, your job and your role in this is to build it and help the users be comfortable using it. So have it with them in mind. Have the non-technical user in mind when you're designing and positioning this. And then literally, I would go with one of them when you're ready to start using it, when you think it's built. Get on the Zoom, record it. Say, hey, how would you ask it this? After you've done some work figuring things out, and see if that path works for them. Start getting information. Because what happens with non-technical users, when you start winning one of them over, they'll let the others know, hey, I don't know anything about tech, but I was able to use this thing Kevin built, and I was able to get my answers. And it's contagious, Kevin. It is contagious. Yes, mini workshop. All the way. Mini workshop. So I know we have 5 minutes left. I want to make sure I get you to my screen here. So Adela, as I mentioned, I have the QR code on the left is my calendar. You can schedule time with me there. I also have my LinkedIn here, so you can go ahead and connect with me. So if you want to have further conversations, feel free to schedule time with me directly. Be more than happy to have some more in-depth conversations on this. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, absolutely, by all means, let's connect because I know a lot of people here are building and they're trying to figure out what the heck do I do? If I can help you get unstuck, if I can help you get to that next level, I'd be more than happy to offer my words of wisdom, my help, and help get you there. So that way you can be unstuck. And let's demystify this because I am not a gatekeeper. I do not believe in gatekeeping, especially within the Latino community. We're not gatekeeping shit here. We are helping each other. We're doing everything we can. Con mi gente adelante, right? I want to make sure that we all succeed. And if I can be a little granito de arroz to help you succeed, I am more than happy to. So please schedule some time with me on my calendar. Let's connect on LinkedIn. You want to have more conversations? I talk. Because just as my shirt says, you can't spell AI without Latinos. Build. Let's create. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. The future of AI is in our hands. You've heard from people that are a lot more successful, that lot more cooler things than I have. But the future is in our hands. We have the ability to build. We have the ability to not get a seat at the table, make our own damn table. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. Happy to be a resource to you. So, once again, thank you for giving me your 45 minutes today. Thank you for letting me rant and rave and happily represent Boricuas everywhere. Um, Boricuas in AI, Latinos in AI, Latinos in AI, everybody in AI. We are all a part of this. We all have a mission to play. And I don't know about you, but I'm sure as I'm going to push Ruby to make sure this happens again next year. And I hope you do as well. So thank you everyone for this. I'll keep this up here so you can um, connect with me. But yeah, I would be more than happy to connect with everyone on LinkedIn and chat. And Adela, for sure, I would love to talk more about what you're doing and have more details with you and help you out. And I also put in the link directly in the chat here for that. So thank
Super.
you everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. If you guys want to come off camera or come on camera so we can take like a group picture, that will be great.
And I'm going to stop the share here so you can.
Yes.
Oh, now I see the okay thing.
No worries.
Make sure I get my Latino and AI shirt so you can all see that.